Have you ever noticed your dog pause for a split second before reacting, as if they're thinking about what to do next? It happens more often than you realize. Something changes or you give a command, and instead of reacting instantly, your dog freezes for just a moment, watching. It looks like hesitation, like confusion, but it's not. In that brief pause, your dog is making a decision that determines everything that happens next. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what's happening in that moment, and why most owners completely misread it. Number 1. This is where most owners misread it. Most people assume dogs operate in a simple loop where something happens and the dog responds immediately, almost like a reflex without any real processing in between. That idea feels intuitive, especially because dogs can react very quickly in certain situations, which makes it easy to believe that all behavior works the same way. But that brief pause you just saw breaks that assumption completely, because in that moment, your dog is not just reacting. They are interpreting what is happening before deciding what to do next. Instead of a direct stimulus-response system, what you are seeing is a layered decision process unfolding in real time. And this is where most owners misread what's happening, because what looks like hesitation is actually evaluation, and what feels like delay is actually a moment of decision. Your dog is not reacting to what just happened, but to what they think is about to happen next. Number 2. Your dog is doing more than you realize. What's happening in that pause is more layered than it appears on the surface, even though it unfolds so quickly that most people never consciously notice it. In that brief moment, your dog is processing multiple layers at once, combining environmental awareness, emotional interpretation, and behavioral selection into a single decision. It begins with detecting subtle changes in the environment, including movement, sound, scent, and spatial shifts, comparing what is happening now to what is normally expected. At the same time, your dog is reading you, picking up on your tone, posture, breathing, and small changes in tension that you may not even be aware of yourself, which is why it becomes easy to misread what your dog is actually responding to. And here's the part most people never realize. By the time your dog moves, the decision has already been made, which means what you see as a reaction is actually the result of something that already happened internally. Number 3. They're solving something you can't see. But this is where it gets even more interesting, because your dog is not responding to a single signal in isolation, even when it appears that way. Instead, they are processing combinations of information, especially in situations where those signals do not fully match each other. When a friendly voice is paired with tension, or when something in the environment feels slightly off, your dog may delay their response. That delay is not confusion, but a process of resolving multiple layers of information before committing to a behavior. Observations show that dogs rapidly shift attention between your face, your body, and the surrounding environment within milliseconds, which means what you see as a pause is only the visible edge of a much faster decision already happening beneath the surface. Number 4. This behavior started long before you. This ability to pause before reacting did not start in your home, but comes from a system inherited from your dog's ancestral wolves, shaped long before domestication, where reacting too quickly could have serious consequences. In natural environments, a sudden movement could represent opportunity or danger, and the difference between the two often determines survival. The individuals that succeeded were not always the fastest to react, but the ones who could pause just long enough to interpret what was happening before acting. That brief hesitation became an advantage, allowing better decisions under uncertainty. Your dog still carries that system today, even in environments that feel safe and familiar. Number 5. Your dog is reading you in that moment. That pause is influenced by you more than most people realize, because your dog is constantly reading your signals and using them to shape their response. When your tone, posture, and energy are consistent, your dog has less to interpret, and the pause tends to be shorter. But when your signals do not fully align, even in subtle ways, that pause becomes longer as your dog works to resolve the inconsistency before deciding what to do. This is why calm, predictable behavior often leads to faster and more confident responses, not because the dog is more obedient, but because there is less ambiguity in what they are processing. Number 6. This is the moment that decides everything. So that pause is not hesitation or confusion, even though it may appear that way when you expect an immediate reaction and instead see stillness. What you are actually witnessing is a decision point, where your dog is evaluating the situation, comparing it to past experiences, and selecting the response that feels most appropriate. In that moment, your dog is not simply reacting to the world, but actively interpreting it, which changes the meaning of the behavior entirely once you recognize what is actually happening. The pause becomes a signal of awareness rather than delay. And once you start seeing it that way, the behavior becomes easier to understand, because you are no longer focusing on the reaction itself but on the process that leads to it. Number 7. When that pause disappears, pay attention. Changes in that pause often signal something deeper that most owners overlook. If your dog suddenly stops pausing and reacts instantly to everything, it may indicate they are overwhelmed and skipping the evaluation phase. If your dog suddenly stops pausing and begins reacting instantly to everything, it may indicate they are overwhelmed and skipping the evaluation phase entirely. On the other hand, if the pause becomes noticeably longer, it can reflect uncertainty or stress, where your dog needs more time to interpret signals that used to feel clear. That shift is not random, but a form of communication that reveals changes in your dog's internal state or environment before they become obvious in other ways. Number 8. This was never just a delay. That brief pause, the one most people overlook, is one of the clearest signals of how your dog experiences the world. Because in that moment, your dog is not just reacting, but actively deciding what to do next, based on everything they are sensing and interpreting. Once you start noticing it, everything changes, because you are no longer just watching behavior, but seeing the moment your dog chooses how to respond. That pause is not empty or meaningless. It is the moment where the decision is made. If you want to understand what your dog is actually thinking, not what people assume, subscribe, because we break down real dog behavior through science, one layer at a time.